Hello, Ajan John here. Today I am going to talk about boredom, a condition which affects all of us at one time or another. Actually, boredom and pleasure or excitement are opposite sides of the same coin. We cannot have one without the other. So it could be that the more exciting your life is, the more painful your periods of boredom are going to be. Some of the most boring experiences for me are traveling, especially by bus or aeroplane. I find these two methods of transport extremely tedious and can't wait for the journeys to be finished. Traveling by train is less tiresome because trains normally go through beautiful countryside, and with their large windows we can admire the scenery. And furthermore, trains have lots of space. You can move around, and if you want to walk, you can walk all the way from the front carriage to the back carriage, which could take you quite some time. You might even like to go to the buffet car and have a drink or talk with some other passenger. Buses, on the other hand, are an entirely different experience. Sometimes I have the misfortune of having to travel several hours by bus in Thailand to another city, and I always find these journeys extremely trying, T-R-Y-I-N-G. There is very little legroom, and I find it uncomfortable not to be able to move around. I am quite a restless traveller, restless, R-E-S-T-L-E-S-S, and I like to move my limbs occasionally. However, on a bus this is really very difficult. In Thailand, people mostly like to close the curtains on buses to keep the sun out. So a lot of the time it's not even possible to admire the view, maybe not even possible to read a book because the lights on the bus don't usually work, and if you do find one that works and turn it on, you may find other people around you frowning because they want to sleep. So traveling long distance by bus is a bit like being confined to a noisy cave with little or no sunlight. But the worst form of travelling for me by far is aeroplane. Sitting in a metal tube for 10 or 15 hours with barely enough room for your legs is not at all my idea of fun. If it weren't for the in-flight entertainments such as movies, food and drinks, travelling by plane would indeed be a real horror. I am always fascinated by why many people think flying is in fact an enjoyable experience. Really? Sitting in a long metal tube, the windows so small you can hardly see anything outside, and even if you can, It's the same boring scene all the time. White cotton clouds below and blue sky above. The cabin air pressure causes people problems with their ears, and the immobility is well known to cause various medical problems. It is just amazing that people pay a great deal of money to travel on a plane. They may even pay extra to go business or first class, whose only attraction is a little bit more space and perhaps slightly more fattening food. To pay through the nose for such an utterly unpleasant experience just shows the power and success of marketing. Advertising and marketing have created an image of air travel as something highly special, maybe only something available to the elite, and the source of great excitement and happiness. What a load of rubbish. What a load of rubbish. If you took away all those in-flight entertainments and revealed the reality of what people were doing, sitting inside this metal tube, the wings full of highly inflammable fuel, I think they may have time to reconsider their feelings about flying. Boredom, though, is really a figment of the imagination. It is purely our interpretation of our experience. This statement may seem strange to you, therefore I am going to ask you to participate in an experiment with me. Participate in an experiment where I hope to show you clearly that boredom does not exist except in your own head. Now, to do this experiment, I want to go to my local park, which is only a few minutes walk from me. So would you like to help me? I'm going to assume your answer is yes. So let me give you directions to the park. I will let you go first because I want to clear up a few things here first. And I will join you a little later. So first of all, take the lift to the ground floor. Then when you leave the condo, turn right, go along a narrow soi, and when you reach a T-junction, turn left. Continue and take the second turning on the right. Walk along this soi, and after the ice factory on the right, you will see the park. If you walk to the river, you will see some comfortable benches to sit on with a pleasant view of the river, and I will meet you there. So I am now going to clear up a few things in my room. Make sure the lights are turned off, the fans and air conditioning is turned off, and before I lock my door, double check that I have my key. I do so hate to lock myself out. So a few moments later, or a few minutes later, I join you in the park, and this is what I say to you. we are going to do an experiment together in which I hope to prove to you that boredom does not exist. To do this experiment, I need another subject. So I'm going to have to leave you for a little while I find somebody else to help us. But while I am away, I want you to obey some conditions. First of all, I don't want you to use your iPhone, either to call anybody or to search the internet, check your messages or look at Facebook. In fact, I think it would be better if you give your phone to me and I will return it to you when I come back with our second subject. I think it may be better if I take the phone, because this way you will be free of temptation. In addition, I don't want you to eat or drink anything, talk to anybody, or indeed do anything. And if any pretty girls walk by, you should not look at them. I can imagine you grimacing at this last condition, but I also hope you are nodding in agreement. I am now going to look for our second subject. I should not be too long, and off I go. I know exactly what kind of person I am looking for, so I begin walking along the road, looking through the crowds of people. It takes me quite some time, but eventually I find the subject who fits my profile. He is an old man with white hair, holding a white stick and hesitantly tapping his way along the sidewalk. I go up to this blind man and say to him, "Excuse me, sir, I wonder if you could help me. I am doing an experiment and I need a second subject. I promise this will involve you in no danger, and on the contrary, I think you will find it very rewarding, and it should only take a few minutes." Well, I think you can imagine the response of the blind man. A total stranger coming up to him in the streets, someone who of course he cannot see, inviting him to do something a little bit unusual. So I wouldn't be surprised if he said no. In fact, I would be more surprised if he said yes. But do not underestimate my powers of persuasion. So eventually I managed to overcome his doubts and suspicions and take his hand and begin to lead him to the park. It takes us around 10 or 15 minutes to get back to the park, as I have to walk quite slowly to make sure he does not fall over. While we are walking, lots of people are staring at us, which makes me wonder, why do people always stare at something unusual? That could maybe be a subject for another discussion. I'm going to stop here as this is getting close to 15 minutes, and I'm going to continue this story in the next video, when you can find out the experiment and its results. Bye bye.